Careful what you say or you'll get together.
Haha, I'm back out of retirement.
Oh shit! Back from his exile of being vicared.
No. We all got to go somewhere and relax and get drunk on the ocean.
That's right.
Well,
we should do that. We should make it a week long trip and do the show on the ship.
There you go.
Except the internet sucks.
We can practice in 2 weeks.
We can.
We'll be practicing. Yeah.
All right. So how you guys been?
Good. Busy. So busy.
That's good though. Keeps you out of trouble or gets you in more.
Yeah, let's go with more.
Yeah. Seems about right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Let's see who is in the chat room tonight. Redmond, Robert, some guy called Silent Cow. I don't know who the hell that is.
Yay.
We should
freak.
Kick him out.
He is a freak.
Yeah, Jade Kitten and JD Sword. How you doing, buddy? Good to see everybody tonight. So welcome to the show. Yes, I am back. Had a couple weekends there where some vacation was involved and then had some work event that I had to go to. So fortunately, Tim and Kenny held the fort down with some help from, let's see, we had Taryn on, we had John on.
Yep. And John did all three shows.
Oh, did he? All right. Yeah, I haven't gone back and listened to him yet. I'll have to listen to those. So
he did a good job.
Taryn made me awful nervous doing the show while she was driving.
Yeah,
I was a little worried. I was thinking, but I don't know. She did very well, and she did a live interview with a drive-through worker. That was really good.
Yeah, I gotta watch that. Oh my god,
she was like our on-scene correspondent.
Yeah.
Like ask the drive-through person if they believe in ghosts. She did.
I did believe in ghosts too.
Yeah, that's actually that's a good bit. I gotta watch that. That would be good.
It was really good.
Cool. Yeah. All right, so let's see who else has popped in. Ryan, hey Ryan, how you doing? And Melissa says, hey guys, John's not feeling well, so he's sleeping. Well, I hope he feels better. Sorry he couldn't tune in tonight, but talk to him on Messenger all the time, so I'll check in with him later.
He can still listen on his phone. Tell him to get on.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to talk about apps on smartphones and tablets that people use for ghost hunting. And I think we'll end up talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, the ones that are promoted as ghost hunting apps that I'm sure we'll have a couple unique comments about. And then I'd really like to dive into what the different sensors are on the phones and the tablets these days, and could they actually be used as a piece of equipment to data log, and get an idea of what's going on in the environment, which I think the phones are to a point where you could probably do that if you find the right app and you know how to download, or if the app allows you to download the raw data so you can take a look at it and do your own little processing. Because as I went through a lot of these, I had a laugh. They're like, it has built-in analysis software. I'm like, really? Cool. So you look at it and it's a graph. I'm like, oh Christ. That's it's a little short of what I was hoping for, but anyway, I think we'll have some interesting stuff to talk about. I came across Kenny's favorite topic on equipment, I think, is a SLS Connect version app for the phone, which I was shocked it was on there. I was actually shocked that my iPhone had a what the hell? What the heck is it? An LIDAR sensor? LiDAR. Yep.
LiDAR. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that it had that technology built in. So I looked into it. I'm like, oh, well, it's legit. It's actually there. So it would work similarly to the SLS Connect system. So pretty interesting. But I was playing around with it, and no shocker, it latched onto things that weren't human and made a stick figure.
What?
Shock. I know. The best part is I told you guys, I sent you a picture. My wife and I were watching Ghost. And I'm like, look, it's a ghost while I'm watching Ghost. This obviously fucking works because he's going to turn into a ghost. Anyway, so those are my opening rambling thoughts. Glad to be back. Let's toss it over to Tim for his opening comments.
Well, it is good to be seeing you back, for sure. I went a different route. I guess I started looking at some ghost apps, and just every time I kind of got a little disappointed. So I looked at something probably that, I looked at things, construction apps, environmental data apps that look like they're pretty easy to operate. I don't know the accuracy of them, but most of them were free. So you could get them, you could use them. I'll talk about one that just looks like it was pretty cool. I can't endorse it, so I can't say I'm endorsing it. I didn't get it. I didn't try it. But it did look interesting. But I just went ahead and went along with the things like, the basic level, temperature, measuring. Actually, I have one. It's really, really good where you can measure pretty long distances with it. Can't say, unless you have a very steady hand.
Mm-hmm.
But you can certainly map out a room and have some pretty good dimensions within a reasonable amount of time with very little effort. So I just kind of went with something like that, thinking you could probably get some use out of those.
All right. Kenny?
So, I mean, I stuck with some of the apps that I've played with before. And I mean, this is nothing, it's not new because I have tried different ones, especially like the Ghost Cam apps. I've played with those mostly so I can tell parents that their son or daughter was definitely hoaxing them. That's usually why I do that. So, but I also played with the Ghost Tube. They have two because that's come up a lot during my show, and it's been brought up a few times when I've done like open mic night or talked about gadgets. People have asked if I played with it, so I finally downloaded it a couple of weeks ago and played with it. And both versions. There's an SLS that you were talking about, Dave, and then there's another version that does like a EMF version using the phone's magnetometer, and then it has like a recording thing. It has a oh my god,
it's a new 3 Tortured Soul member.
Yeah, we got this temp guy in here.
Yeah, we'll see how this jackass does.
It's what else? Oh, so the other one was doing like it does like the Ovilus effect, where it does recording. It has 350 words in its library, and it tells you. I mean, we can get into it. I don't know. I'm just kind of jumping into it here, but I took some screenshots of what it was saying, and let's see. Some of it said it had 350 words that were common names and things used in ghost hunting. So it's already preloaded with common things like that you would expect to hear. So that sets you up. I mean, I give them credit because it comes up on a warning. It comes up before you use the app. It tells you right off. But it also has that next button on the bottom. So I'm sure people are just hitting the next button to get to the actual app. But like when I use the Ghost Tube one, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to try and put it up. So it brings up a warning like this. It's not focusing. Oh, there you go. But it tells you how does it work. And it tells you there's mistakes. It can make mistakes. It'll detect people, but it also detects photos of people and human-shaped objects like dolls. And then it goes into It can also detect people on TV.
Dave.
So
Yes. Yep.
TV, photographs, clothing, coat racks, and don't. It says avoid pointing it at objects known to trigger false positives. So that's
Everything.
everything.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing how it picks up the image, the guy on the TV?
Well, not only does it pick it up, but it completes it. It fills it in where it's not.
It just needs to lock on. It looks like just a couple points. Then it fills in the rest.
There's the picture I took before the show, and you can see there's a stick figure on Dave and Tim.
Mhm.
There it is. But I mean that tells you right away this is not something that you would want to use. Honestly,
No.
It's a novelty. It's a novelty item, and don't use it. So there you go. There's my opening statements. Kind of jumping right into the topic here, but there you go.
All right. Well, let's answer JD's question right out of the gate here. Do they have SPSS or some similar stats program as a phone app? Yes. There are a ton of different stats apps for your phone. I think the one I have on here to do real quick stuff is just called Stat Suite. It's just a variety of different statistical analysis tools. You can plug data in or load it in, and it'll analyze it. I don't
Why
know.
does it not surprise me you have a casual stats app on your phone?
I do. Just to have it.
Full of surprises tonight. Blowing me away.
I needed that in college.
Yeah, there's a variety of different ones out there depending on what you want to do and how much you want to pay for it. I have found though that they're not quite as easy to use and manipulate and do analysis with as it would if you just had it on either a tablet or a desktop or a laptop. Those are still the best and easiest. And quite honestly, if you have Excel, it's gotten to the point where you should be able to do most of your basic stats analysis right in Excel. And they have all the formulas pre-programmed in. So they are out there, I think they're just a little difficult to use and manipulate.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, Redmond question. Are you saying they're questionable? Yes, highly.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
I mean, there's some. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, let's just, I think let's jump into what the phones are capable of doing. Let's just run down a list of what sensors are in the phone that you could actually utilize to collect data, which there are a fair number of ones, and it depends on what model it is. Is it an Android? Is it an iPhone? Right. So for both Android and iPhone, I found, of course, you got the microphone, which is freaking awesome. Yes. For any type of audio recording. I mean, you're talking HD freaking sound on there. It's crazy. And then the camera, at least on the new iPhone, I think it's a 12 or 13 megapixel camera.
They're pretty nice.
So it's unbelievable for quality. I mean, that's better than any camera I've ever owned.
Also, some of these phones with the audio, it's surround sound. It's a stereo sound. So
I noticed that on that new least my iPad, the new iPad Pro I have. It's like freaking surround sound. It's unbelievable the sound that comes out of that thing. Because
it's got, I know mine has a mic on the top and bottom, and that's how it records. It records on both, and you get that stereo sound. So when I'm using headphones and I'm listening back, it's like, oh wow, this is really it's like I'm there. Close my eyes, and it's like, oh, I can hear people walking around me. That's really cool.
Pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
So the quality of the microphone and camera definitely top notch, I think. And if you're looking just to, record or take notes of audio notes or record an interview or film stuff, it's more than adequate.
Right.
All the new phones. Also on most of them, you have a barometer. You have a 3-axis gyroscope. You have an accelerometer. You also have a proximity sensor, a light sensor. Some of them have temperature that you can tap into and get temperature readings. Then, of course, location. And They do not have electromagnetic field detectors. They do have the magnetic field detectors for the, you've seen the compass on the phones and those type of things, but they do have magnetic field sensors, but they do not have the electromagnetic field sensors. So I don't know if I'm, and then of course you have the things to plug in. If you want, it's actually not bad. The little FLIR system for them.
Yeah.
I think they're 220
Yeah.
bucks. Nice birthday present. They're fun to play with. Really, we'll talk about what you would use these things for appropriately a little bit later on. But I mean, there's a variety of different things that they're coming out with, attachments and accessories that you can plug into these things and then collect data that way. So let's go down to Kenny. Did we miss any or anything you want to comment on the different sensors?
I just want to say, if anyone's in the gift giving mood for a FLIR thing, I do have a Android S21 Plus. So just putting that out there. No pressure. Contact me later. But I tried. Aaron actually gave me one. He sent me one to use, but unfortunately, I think the software was out of date and I couldn't update it. It no longer made the software or firmware for that model, so I couldn't use it. And it just sucks because it's sitting there. I still have to send it back to him. So, Aaron, if you're listening, sorry I haven't sent it back yet. I wasn't going to tell you, but oh well. The one thing I wanted to touch on, you mentioned the proximity sensor, and that, like, I didn't do any reading for the show on that, but previously I did, and the proximity sensor was only good within a few inches.
Right.
So that to me, that's a drawback. I mean, I get it. I guess you could design some tests, but it almost makes it sound like, oh, it's got a proximity sensor. It's like a motion sensor. But
that's a good point.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, it's within a couple inches. I mean, unless you're doing something where you're asking whatever's there to touch the phone or do something.
Right.
That's exactly where I was going to go. I mean, you got to remember they come over and touch the EMF meters all the time, so they can certainly come over and touch the phone.
The accelerometer, yeah, I mean, that's the light sensor. I haven't played with any of that yet, except for, I mean, it does change because you can put it on the like the night mode, where I forget exactly what it's called, but after a certain time of day, it dims or changes it to like a blue or a tan. Actually, I think it's a sepia kind of a color that it goes to. So it does, and then you have the adjustable dimness of your screen. So I don't know how you could use that. I'm not sure how you could use that in some of the in testing that we would do. And I'm not downplaying it or dismissing it. I have no idea what we would use that for. But I guess that's it. I mean you're right. The mic on these phones are phenomenal. It picks up a lot, and I've used it. It picks up a lot more than you think. So if you're whispering us about somebody in another room, be careful because it will pick it up. These things are really good. The cameras, I mean, I think mine might go to 8K now, but the clarity, I use this for any kind of filming that I'm not sitting at my desk for, because I'll use my webcam because this is an HD camera, but I mean, outside I use this because it's amazing. So you can capture really good video, really good pictures, detailed pictures with it. So I think that's really important. And then I think we're going to get into, I think you mentioned it, but we're going to go into later, like an app that really does make use of all the sensors in a very good data logging way. So I won't touch on that yet. The magnetometer, I mean, I'm trying. My first question is, what's the difference between a magnetic field sensor and electromagnetic, like EMF detector? And I would guess the magnetic field is just going for the magnetic field rather than a magnetic field called by like static electricity.
Technically, it should be detecting the Earth's magnetic field, so 0 hertz. And then all the other man-made electromagnetic field stuff. Technically, it shouldn't pick that up, but that's not necessarily true, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've heard that before. I've read that before, but I've never like taken that side path and going, all right, what's the difference? Like, what's the difference? I'll just look it up now. Why, you guys, I pass it off to you guys.
Well, while you're looking it up, I'm sitting here just checking out my phone, going, "Really? I have that shit? Really? I have that shit?" I've been Googling like, "Where's the magnetometer on my phone?" And it's in the upper left-hand side, apparently. So there's a lot of stuff on my phone I didn't have. However, there's not much more other than the really cool stuff like that for regular apps that I have. I had the phone, the microphone. I had the microphone just for easily, if you're thinking about EVPs. And I had my other thought was just really quick notes. So you don't have to stop what you're doing. You can have a voice memo and either document what you're experiencing or document what you see or document what you find and just take really quick notes.
That's a good point. And I did that at a research project recently, well, a couple months ago, but yeah, I was either taking a audio note or just pulling up the notepad and typing in quick notes as I went through and did things. So yeah, it was great for that.
Yeah, I do the same thing because I usually have a clipboard that I take with me, and it's nice. It says "Property of Zach Baggins Haunted Museum." So that always gets a laugh. But I take that with me to write all my notes down, and I have like I have forms that I have printed out that like track the use of different gadgets, like what people are using, how they're using it, if they're using it correctly, or if I don't know what it is. So lots of stuff. But oftentimes I'm using my phone or a separate audio recorder and just taking quick notes.
Yep.
That's usually what I use an audio recorder for, taking notes or just leaving it on. Maybe when I leave a room and there's other people in the room, and I just want to, have that extra data point just in case something happens. So,
all right.
So JD, that sounds like a good shirt.
Oh, what's the other one he put? Oh,
yeah.
Here. Yeah, where was it?
Put that on a shirt. I didn't do any reading for the show.
All right, so JD's question. Excuse me. Are these sensors accurate to industry standards? Well, I guess what's industry standard? Everybody has different standards. Even expensive, high quality, independent meters, let's say a magnetic field meter or an EMF meter, they're all different. I would assume, and I've looked at some of it, but the resolution on these sensors is pretty damn good. I mean, the res is pretty good. For what is it, like the barometer? It's down to 0.0018. If you're looking at a couple millibar mercury, that's pretty damn accurate. The magnetic field sensors, and I'm not sure. I couldn't find if it's probably microtesla, but at 0.5997, which is fairly good. So I don't know. There's standards that are all over the place, but typically, if you're going to use magnetic field sensors and they're going to run your compass or some of the other positioning on the phone, they're going to be pretty good. I'm assuming Apple probably doesn't go cheap on the sensors they put in their devices. And I've run it against some of the independent data logging equipment that I have, and it's right up there with it. I mean, it's pretty good as far as precision, accuracy, resolution. I haven't seen anything that would make me think this is any better or, well, not better, but any worse than any semi-decent quality independent sensor or data logging piece of equipment.
I think we have to remember that these are the manufacturer of the phones are requesting specifics, or they have specifications that they want for their phone for specific purposes. So I don't think there's an industry standard, and I think I know where he's coming from with this. Like maybe there's a standard across, like all EMF meters have to be within a certain range or an accuracy, but I mean there's not. Like you said, Dave, there's just not. If you go through all the different EMF meters, you can see the plus or minus for accuracy, and it's usually like between, from what I saw, it was like between 2 and 7% accuracy, and that's across the board, so it varies. But these phone manufacturers that are putting these out, they're requesting specifics from or specifications from these other manufacturers, the third-party manufacturers, to put into their phone to do a specific workload. So for them, yes, they're accurate to their industry standard. And that's what we have to look at here. It's not something that we can compare to. You can't compare the magnetometer or the magnetic field meter in a phone to like a $400 or $500 tri-field meter or something like that, or a full on meter. It's going to be a different measurement. It's going to be different standards. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when on one of them, that data logs, I was shocked actually that the magnetic field sensor logs 100 samples a second.
Wow.
I was shocked. I was like, holy crap. I thought maybe it'd be a couple samples a second, but freaking 100.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's getting up there with some pretty high resolution, high quality data.
That's a lot of information.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's pretty decent. Dr. Jim, not to NIST standards, but maybe Chinese standards. Yeah, I really don't know if these would live up to NIST standards, but it's obviously, as Kenny said, it's spec'd out by either, Apple or whatever, Android to
Motorola or
Samsung or whoever's making the phone. It's spec'd out to run what needs to be run on the phone.
Yeah.
And at least from what I've seen, and like I said, comparing it to some of the data logging equipment I have, that I've spent a good amount of money on, these are pretty damn good. I'm really surprised, actually.
Very cool.
All right, let's see, what else do we have here? I think Taryn is now in the house.
Oh shit.
I hope you're not driving.
Yeah, don't be driving.
If you are, though, go through another drive-through.
Safety first.
Yeah, because if you go through a drive-through, you got to call in.
That's
You
right.
got to see it. It's got to happen.
You got to figure out who else likes ghosts.
All right, next quick question, then we'll see if Tim has anything else to add on the sensors. Based on places any of you have investigated, the camera and recording mic would be good to use? Question mark? Yes.
Yeah.
I pretty much take it anytime I'm going somewhere to do a research project or even an investigation, I guess you could say. I definitely bring it, and I record. I do at least do a walkthrough. I take pictures, record audio, record notes. So I've used it quite a bit. Tim?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I don't know if I would use it for ghost hunting per se, but I would use it to document where I am, what I see. We talk about taking pictures, but there's also really good video. You could do interviews with people that are alleging to have witnessed or experienced something. Voice notes. Plus, you can text when you're on your way home. So hopefully somebody here will have maybe make chips and cheese for you when you get home, and it'll be waiting on you.
Wow.
So Taryn said I got to say it the way she said it. Yo, number 4 into his house.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Is that better? All right.
I do the same thing when I record. If I'm, especially when I'm doing videos, like the video I did at Hinsdale, the whole ghost hunting thing that I filmed throughout the night. I used my current phone and the previous phone, and I had it on a handle with a bracket with one facing out and one facing me, because I wanted to get reactions. Because some of the time when my eyes roll, sometimes I find it funny. I mean, it's filming in 4K, and the sound quality is like we said, it's excellent. I don't have to worry about people across the room.
Mhm.
You know, when normally if I was using like a regular video camera, like something like this, or even a bigger camera, I'd still want to mic up other people if they're a distance away. But these phones just capture everything, and it's amazing quality. So I use it all the time when I walk through. And I did the same thing, Hinsdale or any place else. I take pictures in every room with my phone. It's so much easier than carrying around my SLR camera and trying to use this to get pictures of everything. And I get a wider lens with my phone. I mean, I have a pretty wide lens. I mean, I can put a wide lens, but the phone does it automatically. Boom, it's everything's done. So,
You know, just on a side note, I have seen a couple articles come by being shared on Facebook. Not that I'm certainly not a photographer, but it was just kind of saying and talking about how the SLR they might be done because of the quality of the cameras, just like you said. I don't know how true that is, but it was just really interesting.
Jen being in production, she says they're using these for production, for like TV show production now.
Yeah,
It's crazy. I mean, they have rigs set up just for iPhones or droids that are plugged into the audio equipment, and it's crazy. They got whole rigs for them, and they're filming with these things.
And just, I mean, think about the drones that you can either attach your phone to the drone, or some drones have very excellent cameras, or GoPros. Sorry, couldn't think of it. Yeah. And those are amazing shots. I love shots with drones.
I mean, if you get a really good handheld gimbal for your phone, I mean, you have all the smooth panning back and forth, up and down. I mean, it's beautiful. I've played with them, and I mean, you can get really good cinematic quality video with these. And I mean, I agree. I still love my camera. I still love going out with my camera, and I think the purists and people like that are going to stay with it. So I don't think it's going to completely die like film. But I think you're going to see a huge reduction in how many SLRs are going to be out there or sold.
Yeah. All right. Before we jump into a different part of this, good point. So if audio and video on these phones are so good, why aren't there better quality photos and videos of ghosts, Bigfoot, etc.? That's a great question, JD. And I wonder the same many times when I see these shitty ass grainy pictures and video.
Yeah, I think that is. I almost feel like you answer your question with your question, and it's it's how you're having a little fun with the play of words there with that.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's see. Closed captioning and video are right on top of the questions, comments. Nothing I can do to fix
turn
that.
it off. That's on you, Jim. You got to. There should be a little thing that says CC, or actually, I think
CC.
Let me see here. Yeah.
CC. Yep.
Yeah,
it's
CC,
right at the bottom.
and then turn it off. Yeah, on the bottom.
All right. So what do you guys want to jump into? You want to jump into some of the apps that people have been using and just comment on a couple of those? The ones that I would say are probably in the category of the bad and the ugly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward towards yours. What your friends are doing with the Androids.
Yes. So why don't we get the shit stuff out of the way, and then we'll move into maybe some you would use it and some of the good stuff.
That's easy. I mean, all the ghost apps that are directed primarily towards ghost hunters, crap.
Crap.
All right, next.
Yep.
Let's go on to Dave's part.
Any further comments, Tim? I would agree.
Yeah, I'll before the one app that I thought was interesting. Again, I can't. Before we go on, we kind of covered the crap ones, which are basically anything that's geared towards what Kenny said. But so my altitude I didn't download it, so I can't endorse it. I can't tell you if it's safe to use or not. But I just thought it was really interesting for location. So you can get elevation, which I think is where the barometer comes in. You can get your exact location, latitude and longitude, your barometric pressure. I don't know why, but you can get the water's boiling point at your location. And you can get pretty detailed current weather information for your exact location, not just in your general location. I thought that was really cool. So it's temperature, humidity, wind speed, wind bearing. And yeah, so again, it seems like, I don't know, maybe it's overkill, but I do like data like that. I like data just like, where are you? How high are you? What's going on around you? Just when you do that. And so they did have other apps that were similar. But again, just to say, I can't endorse it, so I didn't do it. But there are things out there that can give you really good info.
So, Tim, according to the Food Safety and Inspection Service, water boils at a lower temperature at higher elevations.
That is
true. Foods that are prepared by boiling or simmering will cook at a lower temperature and will take longer to cook. So that's that, because you mentioned that app, and I was like, oh, I think there is a difference. Yeah, let me look that up to make sure.
Yeah, that's why. When you get pressurized when you're flying.
Yeah.
All right, Redmond, doesn't your phone timestamp everything? It depends. I've found that it depends on the app that you're using. But yeah, pictures and video, and it actually doesn't just timestamp it; it location stamps it too.
GPS.
Yeah.
Yep, it'll GPS tag it. So you can go by your photos. If you go back and look at by location, you know where all your photos were taken. So it's pretty slick.
That's helpful. That's really helpful, because I mean, if you take certain photos and you like something happens, and you're like, oh, I just took a photo after it happened to take the results, then you can come back weeks or months later and say, all right, what time was that? All right, let's look at the picture. There it is. Okay.
I'm just saying, in my day job, that timestamp and location is
huge,
really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Dr. Jim has one more question here, then we'll move into what some of the good apps are. I got in a few minutes late. Did you guys say how new your phones are and models? So mine is a iPhone Pro 13. But for the other stuff I'll talk about with the Citizen Edge Science, I have a Samsung, I think it's a Galaxy, it's an S7, which it's older, but it's still got all the sensors and works perfectly fine.
Right.
Tim?
I have a iPhone 2020 SE, just a basic phone.
Okay. And I got a Galaxy S21 Plus. So mine's I probably got about a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. So it's relatively new. Yeah. And it's got everything that I need. It doesn't have LiDAR. My other work phone that I had was a brand new iPhone, and it did have LiDAR. That was fun. I was playing with the measuring tools because it had an app where you can measure a room out, and it was pretty accurate. I mean, it was amazingly accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You can just stand and point in one corner and move it to the next corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's nice for me remodeling.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some of the apps that are useful, and maybe we'll just talk about one or two and then go around. And Kenny, you can talk about one. Tim, you can talk about one if you like, or how you would use it. So let me show you one here. And actually I found a way, I'm hoping this works, to share the screen on your phone. So let's see if I can.
Oh, wow. Dave fucks up the show.
This is it.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. So there's one, if you want to do infrasound, because it uses both the microphone and the barometer to detect and record infrasound. So it's called Redbox, and you just turn it on, and you can see the display as it reads it. It actually, you can record. So, if right now I'm just kind of tapping the phone, and you're going to see where I was tapping it. So it picks up infrasound. It'll do, you can set it for normal sound frequency, or you can set it for 40 and below. And that's what I have it running on now. So it's actually fairly decent. And let me switch here and show you. This was interesting. This is done with the infrasound recorder. Any guesses on what that is?
A ghost.
Art.
Both good guesses, but no. It's actually the dryer in the laundry room.
Oh.
When it shut off, as it's winding down and slowing down,
Ooh.
that's why the frequency is decreasing. Because you can feel the vibration of it, but this actually picks that up pretty well. So
Very
it's pretty
cool.
interesting. So that one is useful. I've used that at a couple locations because obviously we've talked about infrasound on the show before. We've talked about how some people could attribute certain anomalous or paranormal activity to infrasound. So that one I thought was pretty useful. So that's my first one. You guys got one you want to talk about?
I mean, I just use different photo programs.
Jim, sorry, real quick. Jim is right. It's below 20, but this does 40 to 0, so it covers the spectrum there.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I use like Snapseed photo editor, which is a really good editor for your phone. It's pretty powerful, and it brings out a lot of detail. So I use that. I have the Redbox, and I think I have it because of you.
I do too.
Yeah.
I did it while you were doing it. I was
Right.
watching it while I was
I
playing.
have it because I think when we got into it, a discussion about it, and you brought it up that was a good.
Mhm.
And I think you sent us pictures. You sent both of us pictures of it, and I was like, oh, cool. Let me get that because I want to try it. So I do have that. The rest of it, I mean, I don't have too many other apps that I use that I would say were good because, like I said, I mean, I use the camera, I use the microphone, I use the editing software.
Mm-hmm.
I have my 360 camera too that I also use, and that goes through my phone, so it records everything on there, which I love. But that's a separate camera that links to my phone. But other than that, I don't have any other apps that I use on investigations.
No, I kind of went through mine at the beginning, I guess, a little too soon. But yeah, the measuring, I like the idea of getting a basic square footage of wherever I am, unless you're like, at Waverly Hills, and I'm just not going to do that. But if I'm in a very specific location or very specific room, it's kind of neat to just to do that, take pictures of it, and then just get basic measurements of it. I oddly enough, again, going back to sometimes I think I overdo it, but I don't know exactly why I would do that unless unless there was a question. If there was a question of how big it was, what was in the room when you got this, or what were the conditions of the room, then you can go back and see exactly without having to guess on your memory.
Right.
Okay. All right. So the next one I'll talk about, which is pretty good, is called Sensor Play. It'll pull this up, and you can see accelerometer, gyroscope, location, magnometer, barometer, motion activity. 3D touch isn't on here, but then you can check multi-sensor recorder.
Ooh.
So if you click that, it starts data logging all of those different sensors. And I'll just give you I'll just turn this one on, but you can see the magnometer here.
Ooh.
And you can see X, Y, Z and some. Now, if I just move it just a little bit, you can see it's fairly, and it also gives you the compass, so you know what what position you're in. So this is the one that I was saying earlier on, that it records 100 samples per second.
Wow.
Which isn't bad. It's pretty incredible. It's right up there with some of the better magnetic field sensors and recorders. So then you can just go through and pick any one of these. And I think, Kenny, when we were messing around with something with barometric. The book. The book
yeah.
on the barometer thing. And this is one of the ones I actually used in addition to the data logger that I have that is just a barometer. So this looked just as good as that. So the quality of this app is pretty good. I'm not quite sure. I think it's a couple bucks for this one, but
I looked it up. I was looking for it while you were doing, because I was like, that looks so cool.
Yeah.
I want it. It's at least right now it's $14.99.
Yeah, it's really not bad though for the amount of
Right. Yep. I was going to say, for what
things you get. Yeah, and then here's one of the recordings I made earlier. You can just tap on that and it records everything. And then when you send it, so if I think I ended up actually sending it to myself, or you can email it. So you send it, and then you can go here, and then when you open it up, that's all the data. It comes in Excel format. So you can just dump that and then analyze it all yourself if you want.
Wow.
I'm sending this to you, Dave.
That's a weekend where Dave's like, all right, I got food, I got beer, I'm in for the weekend. We're gonna do some data crunching.
A couple pizza pockets and I'm good to go.
Yeah. So honestly, just to go back on, like, I think it's really kind of important maybe to put it in a relative thing. Like, you can either spend $14.99 on this, or you can spend $50 to $150 on some plastic stuff that's held together with glue stick. That doesn't give you anything.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I would rather spend $15 on this.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great. I've used it before. It's exactly. If you don't want to go out and buy a whole bunch of different equipment, I really believe these are to a point where it's pretty decent for if you want to get started on some data logging. The only setback is, I don't know about you, but I'm probably not going to leave my brand new iPhone unattended at a location for very long.
Right.
So that's one negative. However, some of the older phones still have the same sensors. They do the same thing. And I think that Galaxy 7 I got, it was like maybe $80. And that has all the sensors on it compared to, I probably spent $2,000, $3,000 on sensors and laptops and all the data logging equipment. So those type of things, to me, though, that's where you start getting into some useful data collection.
And
so you can analyze it.
I have my old, S19 or whatever, and then I also have S7 that I keep just for backup. I mean, these are all because I keep them for cameras. I mean, these are still high def cameras that I can use. And you can set them up for webcams and all that kind of shit. So I always keep them. But yeah, I would rather download that app because you can still use your old phones as long as you have Wi-Fi. You can still download these apps, and I wouldn't mind leaving this at a location while I go out like to dinner or something, and let it record. So.
And that's, one of the reasons I bought that Samsung. I'm like, it's fine. I'll leave it somewhere. And if something happens, I mean, it sucks. I don't want to be out $80, but it's better than a brand new iPhone.
$1,100.
There's all kinds of different ones, depending on what you want to do. If you want a data log, if you don't, if you want just one or two specific types of data to log. A couple other ones I'm not going to show you, but there's one called the Sensor Toolbox. That's good. It has a whole bunch of different sensors in it. There's one called the Physics Toolbox Sensor Suite. That's
Nice.
got a ton of stuff. That one even gets into spectrum analyzers, oscilloscopes, tone generators, sound meters, tone detectors, color detector. Of course, let's see, whatever. Then the ones that we talked about already. So it's pretty much the sky's the limit. And for a couple bucks, you can get in the game with data logging and analyzing a lot of data.
Yeah.
And it's useful because if we go back, I think, Tim, you're the one who brought up that paper, Things That Go Bump in the Literature, that talked about the different environmental readings that have been looked at, and a lot of work's been done relating them to how they maybe play a role in ghosts and hauntings. And all the ones on there that they talk about can be collected and data logged on a smartphone these days.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I was just looking at the physics toolbox.
I know, both of us.
Looking
Dave's
at that.
talking, and I'm like, okay, what's next? What's next? I'm like,
I'm looking at that. I mean, there's a couple free ones on here that looks like you can use pretty good without getting the premium, but I'd have to play. I'm going to play with these. I'm downloading that one.
You know, the free ones I found didn't have the data logging capability.
Okay.
So that's where I just, hey, what?
Right.
Seriously, we've all pissed away more than $15 doing what?
I've eaten more tacos in one sitting than $15 worth of tacos.
Yeah.
And I'm bragging. I'm not saying
especially when they brought back the Mexican pizza. That was yummy.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed. That's a brag. That's a win. When it was like $2 taco night for 2 for
Wow.
2.
2 for 2.
I was a champion.
And we can talk about this, and then I'll after we go around and answer this question, I'll talk about the last thing, which is that Citizen Edge Science, the Mesa 3 system that they've designed for the Android phones. And it has all the same sensors, but it's a little unique in what it does. In addition to that, we'll talk about that. So how would you apply that app to ghost hunting? Any of them. I would, for instance, if somebody said they had an experience in a certain location, I'd run that app and I'd have it data log. And I'd probably, if I had 2 phones, that would be great, because I think I'd want one in actually 3. I'd want one where somebody was standing where they said it happened, have one where they thought they saw whatever it was they saw, and then one in a control room where nothing has been reported. And if they're time synced on the network, you're going to have all the same timestamps too.
Right.
So you'd run that data logging, and then you'd go back and analyze that data. And the key is, these are all great, but how do you analyze the data? That's always the bottom line. It's great to have a whole bunch of numbers and graphs, but what the fuck does it mean?
Yeah.
Send it to Dave.
Send it to Dave.
Dave, what's this mean?
It means absolutely freaking nothing. No,
It means squat.
So
I started to say the same thing. I would. I didn't think about having 2, but you're right. That is really good. But my thought was, I would start it running wherever I was, and then hopefully it was small enough that you're in a very centralized location that you could start it running and just let it collect the data. And then if someone has an experience or something, then you could look at the time, get the area, and then at some point you could go back and look at the information that you had to see if there were any environmental changes as well, or environmental readings during the same time. I don't think necessarily that means it's a ghost or it's not a ghost, but I think the correlation, or at least the connection of the two, would be really interesting. And then you could hopefully pass that on to somebody else that would do the same thing to see if it was a reoccurring event, that the same readings kind of tend to happen with the same type of experience.
The thing that comes to mind, one thing that comes to mind is if people say that a room got colder.
Yeah.
Maybe they were in a room and then they come back a little bit later and they're like, oh my God, it's cold in here. Something must be going on. And if you had this data logger in there, you could go back and look at it and say, all right, well, the temperature slowly decreased. over this time period. And yes, they're going to feel difference. They're definitely going to, I mean, if you get a change of like 5, 6, 7 degrees, 10 degrees difference, you're going to feel it. And then other stuff, like we were talking before the show about infrasound, and a certain location where a certain appliance was giving off massive amounts of infrasound. So that might be a problem. And you could also feel the vibration through the house, which we could too. So that would tell you, all right, it's on a cycle. You know, there's a cycle here, and we can track it. So let's look for the source. We can actually, I mean, with that, like shit, you could actually track it in real time, because it would be a cycle that would be predictable, and therefore you could start looking like, all right, it's about to happen. Everyone get into a certain room and wait for something maybe to turn on, and you could probably locate it. I mean, I'm getting excited thinking about that, because that's actually a cool thing. That's a cool tool. I like that. Yep.
All right. Let's see. We have another question. Redman says, so as I would take pictures or record, I could look at environmental readings that would match the moment in time I record or take a picture on my phone. Yeah. Yeah, you could. And I'll talk a little bit about, again, as we finish up, I'll comment on that Mesa 3 system. It's set up to do that. That's one of the things it can do. You can make notes or take pictures or make a recording, and it has a bunch of different modes to it. It has a freestyle mode. It has, I'd have to look. I haven't played with it in a while, but it's, let's see. It has a freestyle mode whereby the camera and the questionnaire that they have built in there can document what happens during the investigation period and then connect those events to the environmental data. So this is the Mesa 3, which stands for Multi-Energy Sensor App 3.0. There was a Mesa, I think a 1.0 and a 2.0, but that was actually had external sensors that hooked up to a computer and recorded. And Kenny, I think you talked to Tim Hart. He was involved with that as well, the first Mesa systems, when he worked with Dr. Haran. Second, they have a baseline mode in which the investigator step by step takes you through step by step in collecting pictures of the outside of the location, each specific area to be studied. Further, baseline mode instructs users to take control readings outside and in areas to be studying, so you can reference base levels of environmental variable. Third, they actually have an EVP mode. Automatically helps you to conduct a well-structured EVP session, provide a timestamp sheet for you to use manually later in this in the app, but Mesa automatically provides the same structure for you by following directions on the application. Finally, it provides a Sentinel mode that allows someone to connect a phone to a power supply and leave it unattended in a potentially haunted or control area or location. The application will monitor and record environmental data, as well as triggers audio and camera if environmental readings are higher or lower than baseline readings that the application collects.
Ooh.
So this is actually all still in development. They're working on it. I've played around with it. I'm part of that group. We've gone out and tested it. There's some tweaks and some reprogramming that needs to be done. The one thing I really like, and if you're not stats oriented, it runs the stats in the background for you.
Ooh.
And it tells you what readings are so many standard deviations. I think it's 2 or 3. I don't remember. I think it's 2. But it tells you how many of those readings hit at certain times. So it's doing all the stats in the background for you, and then it outputs all that. So it's pretty cool. They're trying to get this whole citizen science thing going, where they realize that there's kind of a gap. And if actually I'm this all in that book I was talking about, there's a gap, and they feel there's a way that both parapsychologists or just scientists and ghost hunters, skeptics can all work together to collect quality data to get a better idea of what's going on in these environments.
Cool.
So it's a great initiative. It's a great program. You don't have to be part of their group formally. You can go to their site, and we can post that, and download the Mesa 3 app. It's only for Android phones right now, and thus why I had to go against everything I know that is right in the world and get a Droid phone as
Bullshit.
opposed to an Apple phone. Which some of you guys want to slum it with those phones, but that's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Here's a message from Apple.
Right back at you, Apple.
Oh, too funny. So it's great. I mean, it's unbelievable what you can actually do, not only with that Mesa app, but with just some of the ones we talked about tonight. Any other questions, comments?
No, I look forward to that. I joined that, and I don't have Android, so I haven't done that. But the board, the information itself, and the discussions, it's a good place to go to. My daughter had a Galaxy S7, I think is what it was, which was very interesting. It had external hard storage as well. And she was just so sad to give that up because she was a teenager, so she had a million pictures. But
it has a little micro SD card that
mine, there.
Yep.
So the S20, this one that I have, doesn't have that extra slot, and that when I got this, I didn't want it.
Yeah,
she was like, I didn't want it. No. Yeah.
But I think that phone is around here somewhere. If I find that, I'm gonna get it kicked back up and do it.
How much memory is on that phone, though, Kenny? I mean, I think you get to a certain point now where you don't need those cards because it's just so freaking much. And then there's cloud-based shit.
Not as much as you think.
Really?
Yeah. It's because, I mean, the last one I had, because I still use my other phone, and I had I think I had a terabyte card in there.
Whew.
So I used that for everything. And then this went down to, I'm trying to look it up here, but it's without the external storage. It was, let me see. It doesn't tell me.
I'm telling you, they're forcing you to the cloud-based data.
Yeah. I don't like it. I want everything where I am. Cause I mean, sometimes I don't have access. I mean, some of the places that I've gone to, I don't have a signal, so I can't access a lot of the online stuff, and I need it with me. So I might. I'm hoping the next phone they go back to having that external storage because I mean I love it. And
she did too.
Yeah,
I don't like just take that chip out and go straight to the computer and edit your photos.
Yeah, this one I don't think I have. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't anywhere near what my last phone had for internal storage, much less the external. So
I got the 256 gigabyte, and it's really, I don't have it nearly filled up.
Yeah, and I think for at least the Mesa 3, I ran that for probably 48 hours straight at a certain location. Didn't even come close to chewing up hardly any memory because it's just text or CSV files that it spits out. So it's pretty cool. Dr. Jim, for Dave, have you ever looked at the Einstein hardware and sensors?
I just did, and I'm going to hold him responsible for all the money I'm going to spend because looks like
send the bills to him.
Yeah,
I have looked at them. I just don't know that much about them. I have not done a deep dive. I'm more familiar with the Vernier stuff and Hobo data loggers and a couple other off-name ones that were standalone. So I'll dig into that though, Dr. Jim. Thank you.
It looks fun. Like right off the bat, there's a couple kids out in the field doing science, and I was like, "That's me.
That's cool.
That's my level. Kids doing science."
All right, one more question. Is that ghosted book something y'all have talked about before? No. I just got it, but do not remember ordering it. Well, I ordered this, I think, last year, and it finally got done and sent out. And so far, it's pretty much the best book I've read on the subject in a very, very long time. I think maybe we'll do a book review on it at some point if I can get Kenny and Tim to buy it and read it.
Yes.
It takes a ton of, I'd say, the last 5 or so years of academic research and puts it in a very understandable, readable format. And it serves as a guide to start educating citizen scientists and to get out and start trying to implement some of the stuff in this book. So it's fairly comprehensive. There's some concepts that are a little new, and there's a lot to it. So I think it's a great book. I would highly recommend it, but maybe we'll read it and do a show on it.
I look forward to it.
Who's the author again?
Brian Lath, James Ron, Neil Dagnall, Kenneth Drinkwater, and O'Keefe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm looking it up.
It's on my list. I had to get some stuff off Amazon today, and it popped up. I was like, "Oh, I got to order that."
So yeah, the Einstein is aimed at modular K through 12 education. Yeah, that's similar to the Vernier systems, the GoPro, or not the GoPro, the Lab Pro system. So yeah,
Must be
similar to that.
K through 12.
All right. Well, I think that's it for me. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Nope, I'm good.
No, but I think that we have. I feel like we have solidified that there are apps that can fully aid in the data and the collection of ghost hunting. If you want to call it ghost hunting, maybe I shouldn't have said ghost hunting, but at least investigating the alleged claims. I think it's there. Mm-hmm.
Data collection.
Yeah, I think it's there. I really do. The more I keep looking, like I had no idea my phone did as much as what you just said tonight, Dave, and I really didn't. Now I feel like I've neglected my phone.
That's why your phone doesn't work all the time.
That's right.
It's mad at you.
It is.
You're not using it to its fullest potential.
I was
All right.
rather surprised.
Yeah, it's shocking, and the quality of the sensors and the data it's up there.
Yeah.
It's a great start. Beats the shit out of a K2 meter.
So does a bat.
Nice.
I agree with Tim. I mean, this is a topic we've touched on before, various reasons for various other topics, because there's so many ghost apps, and that's a general term we use. Like the ghost camera apps, the ghost radar, which we didn't even touch on because it's so crappy we didn't touch on it. But it's like a fake radar, and little blips come up and tells you where a ghost is supposed to be, but there's nothing back to back it up. It's a novelty. You have your digital versions of the Ovilus, which is an Ovilus app. It spits out random words. These are all apps that we've all encouraged you to avoid. Just don't bother with it. Don't waste your money. Don't waste downloading it. Don't use it because it's not reliable whatsoever. However, being able to get into the topic more, like specifically this topic, we do see that there are apps that we can use and that we have used, and there's more coming that will measure and data log all the sensors that you do have in your phone, which Tim will still be discovering after the show is over. But that's usable data, as long as you do use it, and that's the important thing too. Not only discover, don't just discover that you can do this with your phone, that you have this ability, but use it. And when you use it, do something with the data. Don't just say, "Oh, well, we recorded, last night at a ghost hunt," and then that's it. You never see the data. You never hear about it again. Do something with it. analyze it. Talk to somebody that knows how to analyze the data and look for anomalies, and then go further with that research. That's your starting point. That's where you're like, oh, that's interesting. That's the point of that's interesting, and that's where you focus your attention. So do something.
Listening to you talk kind of gave me this idea or this thought about if someone wants to go out and have fun and use a ghost app, I think that's fine. If that's what you like to do, enjoy it. I think if somebody's going to say that they're a researcher and use something like a ghost app or the ghost radar, I think you're kind of exposing yourself by using that type of equipment of like if you're serious or not. Because the more I think about it, the comparison of the two, ghost hunting apps provide almost immediate feedback. So you have a lot of fun. You have something that gives you stimulation and you have a good time. And again, I'm not knocking that. If people want to do that, I think that's really great. But the other apps require work. They require an investment of your time. Maybe not a whole lot of money, but they require an investment of your time. You're probably going to be on Google Scholar for some shit, but you're going to have to like put in more work post the research of where you collect the data than you know what I'm saying? Like it's how serious you are in putting in the work after you collect what you have.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, that Dr. Jim, good idea. Do that here. Give us a few weeks to get that app, and then I have a show showing how to pull, analyze, and share the data. Yeah, I mean, it'd almost be like a little mini class. We could do that.
Right.
That sounds good. I'll sit in front.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
I'll sit in the middle.
Okay.
I will just decide if I'm going to show up or not. No, just kidding.
You're teaching the class, bitch.
Yeah. So it's
Well, if I'm more than 10 minutes late, you can go home.
Okay.
All right.
stop rolling.
So that sounds like those were some good closing statements there. I'll just throw in that, I think years ago you'd look at the cell phone apps that were out there like Ghost Radar, and we just kind of blow it off and be like, yeah, that's crap.
Yeah.
It's not much to it. But much like anything else, when you start digging into it, you look at the sensors, you look at some of the more quality apps, you might have to pay for them a little bit. And you know what to do with the data, and you can data log it and record it and then analyze it. That's where the real value comes in. Just being able to detect something, that's nice, but what you do with it is the key. So yeah, maybe as Dr. Jim said, how you would analyze it and what you would do with it, that would maybe be a next a good next step for the show is taking this and then what do you do with it? Got all this stuff and spit it out, and what does it mean? But it's
Fair
definitely worthwhile if you want to get started in data logging these days with a couple of different environmental factors. A smartphone or a tablet, it'll do it. It'll get you in the game, and it's pretty high quality data. So I would recommend playing around with it. I used to be against it, but technology advances and things get better, and you learn, and you learn how to use it, and it's actually worthwhile. So
Awesome.
that's all I got from my end.
Cool.
All right, so let's start with what we have going on. I'll go first. Saturday nights, 3 Tortured Souls. Glad to be back. Look forward to the next couple weeks. We don't have long now before we're going to be at an event together out in Gettysburg, and looking forward to it. And with that, I ain't got nothing else going on right now. Well, actually, I have other projects going on, but I can't talk about them right now, but I will eventually. Anyway, throwing it over to Tim. What do you got?
Same as Dave. Saturday nights, 3 Tortured Souls. Couple weeks. We're going to be in Gettysburg. Have a great time. Get to see everybody. Outside of that, that's it for us, or for me. So I'll throw it down to Kenny.
I have a show called The Skeptical Help Bar every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here in this beautiful studio. And then I do a Saturday night show because I just can't get enough with these fine folks Saturday at 8 p.m. Because I just keep going. And then Yeah. Also, Gettysburg coming up. We got less than 2 weeks now. We got a week and a half. We're actually 2 weeks from today.
Yep.
We will be doing a show live from Gettysburg. 3 of us will be together. I'm so looking forward to that. So if you guys have the means and can get out to Gettysburg for a visit, even for one day, Saturday would probably be the day because that's our 100th show, and we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna be brought. Who knows what we're gonna do? The sky's the limit because it's going to be a weekend away. There's going to be alcohol somewhere.
We can walk to the room.
Yeah, we can walk to the room.
It's going to be a shit show, but in a good way, in a very good way.
What else do I have? I do have the other thing that I have is in October 20th to 23rd. I'll be in Las Vegas, Nevada for SciCon. I'll be speaking for the science conference out there and talking about, getting along. Believers, skeptics, getting along, how some of us can get along. Not all of us. I'm going to talk about the other people too. But that should be fun if you have the means. I definitely say go out there because it's freaking Vegas. Hello. And we're going to nice. Thank you.
Got my last drink out of that one.
And I think that's it for now. There's a couple things in the project, there's things in the shoot that I can't talk about yet. So, but hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I might be able to talk about them. So, but there you go. That's it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Good seeing you. Good hanging out with you, Tim and Kenny. Glad to be back doing this on Saturday nights. Look forward to getting together next week and then being live in Gettysburg. That's going to be exciting. Really looking forward to it. So everybody have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy, stay safe, stay healthy. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
And all that you say, oh, you'll get to better.